Hey, welcome back to Drafting 230 AutoCAD 3D Modeling. Okay, now in this lecture I will be covering things that you'll be wanting to know in Chapter 6, 7, and 9, and then I may throw in a few extra things. And as we get closer to Chapter 9, I may make another video that covers things a little more in depth in that direction. But I think that you'll find this particular video very handy for a lot of different reasons. Okay, now we're working in Solid. Some of the things that you can and cannot do in Solid, you can or cannot do in Surface or Mesh any easier. Solid has its own nature, but so does Surface and Mesh. They have their own nature. Sometimes the two don't mix, but sometimes making something in one or the other works a lot better than making it in Solid. But let's go into Solid. I'm going to start off with primitive. Primitive is basically AutoCAD's word for the basic shape. So we're going to start up with a box. Okay, here we go again. Box. Okay, the first thing it wants to do is, okay, where are we going to put this box? Okay, left click. And if you'll notice the numbers here, okay, the numbers are asking me what direction I want to go. Okay, so if you'll notice that top number, it's a 6 something. Okay, that's because the width of this right now is staying close to 6. Now that bottom number is the number we will choose for that direction. Now if we're going the other way, I'll try to keep this somewhere in the neighborhood of 5. You'll notice that top number is getting bigger. Okay, so let's hit the tab, and this will help us go from one box to the other. Okay, so let's make this one. Oh, sorry, let's make this one. We're going to make it 10. Let's go this direction to 10, and don't hit enter. It's a common mistake. Don't hit enter, because in AutoCAD you hit enter for everything. Okay, but you want to remember to include tab sometimes. So hit tab, and this gives us our next direction. So our next direction, when we make something a little more obvious, let's make it a 20. Now hit enter. Okay, and then the next thing it wants to know is our height. So let's make it 10. And then there's our basic box. Okay. And it's wireframe, yes, but that is only in its view, okay? Its conceptual style, okay? So let's go up here to the top left of the corner. Our visual style, conceptual, nice to work in. Okay, now it's obvious it's a solid. So let's talk about the cylinder. Now the cylinder, it says where do you want to put it? Okay, I want to put it right here. Okay, and then what's my radius? So let's call my radius of 5 and hit enter. Now the neat thing about the newer software 2014 that you may or may not have in 2013, if I remember right, in 2013 you actually had an add-on. It was called I think it was called Autodesk 360, that you had to go in if you needed to manipulate the size of your shapes. Well, now AutoCAD has found a way to fix your shape without having to go anywhere else. So let's say I want to make this a little bit longer. Okay, and that bottom number, if you'll notice, is, now see how that's snapping back and forth, that craziness? Okay, what we need to do here, hit escape, is let's turn off our snaps, because what that's saying is it wants to snap to something. Okay, there we go, a lot smoother. Okay, so let's hit the tab. Okay, that gives us, that number is the height of this object. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to key in, let's make this 10 tall and hit enter. Okay, so that's how we manipulate our solids that we couldn't do in the past. Now let's say I want to make this thing a little bit wider. Okay, left click on it, right click on it. Whoop. Let's hit it again. Left click, right click. There we go. Properties. Okay, currently the radius is at 5, but let's make it a 2.5. Hit enter. We couldn't do that in the past. You were pretty much stuck with what you had, or delete it, make it again, or go into the Autodesk and change it. Fusion, Autodesk Fusion, that's what it was. You had to go back into Fusion and fix that. So anyway, now we've created a cylinder, we've created a box. One of the other things that really is nice about Solid is it doesn't really care what view you're in. Notice how my sides are lighting up as I pick them. Okay, I'm picking this side, I'm going to create a cylinder off this thing. And look at that. See how easy that was? That's nice. Okay, I'm going to go to the top here. I'm going to create another one. And the sphere, first thing I want to know, like everything else, where do I want to put it? Okay, my snaps are on. Find a center here. There's my center. Zoom in, make sure I'm on center. There it is. Okay, let's see, I want to make this a little bit bigger. It's asking me for a radius at this point. So let's make my radius, let's make it a, whoop, not that big, 8. That's good. Okay, and much like the other shapes, this little triangle here, I can make him a little bit bigger. Okay, remember I made it at 8, so it's my bottom number. So I hit Tab, and let's make it 10, and hit Enter. There we go. That's how I make my ball a little bit bigger. Now let's talk about union. Now let's say I want to delete this part. Oh, and let's change my mind. I want to delete the whole thing, or maybe I want to make it one component for whatever reason. I want to join the two pieces together. Okay, let's hit Undo. Union. Okay, Union. You pick the two pieces you want, and then hit Enter. It's that easy. Now I select that. Let's say I move this whole thing out of the way. Now it's one piece. Pretty neat, huh? Okay, so let's say I take this cylinder and I want to move him over, and I'll make him, this is what you do with this gizmo here. Now here's where subtract comes in handy. Let's say I want to make a divot in my ball here, or I want to make a place where I can put that cylinder. Let's spin around, make sure that worked out right. Okay, so I want to subtract that. So let's hit subtract. Okay, procedure is everything on this. So I want to select this, right click, and this, and right click. It got rid of that. So let's hit it again, undo, subtract. Now pick the ball first, right click, cylinder, boom. Procedure is everything when it comes to some of these commands. Okay, so now I have a little hole down there in the ball. Okay, so we've shown the primitives and what we can do to that, and union and subtract. Now let's talk about creating a shape. Okay, so in creating a shape, we can come over here and let's try this. Okay, if I have a basic line, and I know this won't work, but I'm going to show you why. Okay, I have a basic line. Here's what happens. Now I'm going to use what's called press pull. Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to use extrude. My extrude, I've selected it with the left mouse button, enter, and this is what I get. I wanted to create a solid shape like this. This is how this works. Right now these are individual segments, but I need to join them together. There's a couple different ways. I can come here and I can use join. Right click. Now they're all one piece. They're a polyline at this point, and I pick extrude and pick the line itself, and hit enter. Okay, this creates a ribbon. Why did it create a ribbon? Most likely because somewhere in there it's not joined. Okay, so let's hit this again. Now the more guaranteeing way to do this way, okay, to make things right, is to create a polyline. So let's try a polyline. Ah, snaps are off. That's why that didn't work. Okay, now we know we're good. Okay, so I hit extrude, my edge, enter. Okay, it's asking me my height. Okay, so that works. Now another way to do this, there's 3 different ways to do this. Okay, I'll do the join again just so you know it works. Okay, join. And right click, and now it's a polyline. Everything should be connected now. Extrude. Select the left mouse button, hit enter. Okay, making this 15. Okay, so that's another way to do that. Now, if I've got this line, okay, hit escape. Let's say I want to make this into a shape. Okay, where are we? Okay, draw right here, region. In a book, I think they might talk about region. So we're going to create a region. Basically what we're doing is, at the same time we've created a polyline, we're also creating a shape to extrude. So I'm going to extrude that shape. I've selected it with the left mouse button and hit enter. Now it wants to know what direction I want to go. Well, that went kind of weird. Let's see what happened here. And this is one of some of the weirder things that you may run into. Let's change our view. We're good. This are some of the things you may run into when you're manipulating your shape. So let's hit undo a couple times, kind of see what happened here. Okay, so we went down. Yeah, so this is some of the weird things you run into. And I'll tell you why this did this. It's because when I was working with my line, I really wasn't connecting it to anything. And then sometimes region doesn't quite work the way you want it to. So with that said, there are more than one way to do the connecting a line and then extruding. So keep that in mind when you're making your shapes, that there's more than one way to do it, because one way may be a little more difficult to work with. And I've found that to be the region tool, believe it or not. Okay, so let's talk about, okay, I want to manipulate my shape. Let's say I want to put a circle in this. Okay, right as soon as I clicked on that surface, I was able to create my circle, but I didn't extrude it. It didn't automatically extrude because I didn't pick cylinder. Okay, I just want this to use to create a hole, so I'm going to press pull. Now the press pull, you don't want the line. Okay, that's good with extrude. You want to pick the interior of this circle and drag it past the other surface, left click, and then there you go. Okay, hitting escape takes it out, and now we've created a hole. But now let's talk about our solids back in here again. Let's see, press pull, extrude. Your extrude is here again. Your press pull, they've put it in two different places. It's the same tool. Now revolve comes in handy. Let's create a revolve now. I want to create, let's say I want to create, let's use a polyline. I want to create something, well, maybe a little bit different than that. Let's try it again. So I want to create something going in the neighborhood of this. Let's clean this up. Alright. Alright, now I want to revolve it around this. Here we go. I'll turn this on. Alright. Now, here's my polyline. This is going to be my revolve center line. Okay, so we'll go back to solid, revolve, picking this object. Okay, and then it says we're going to hit enter. And then what we're revolving around. There we go. Now, the number that you're seeing over here on the left, I'll hold it still for a second. It says 292. Okay. This is how much it will revolve. Okay, all the way around is 360. Halfway around, of course, is 180. So let's make it a 360. And there we go. And that's revolve. With revolve, you always want to remember, and this is just about any software you work in, you're going to need a center line to do your revolve around. So I've had to put in that line. Now I can take that line out, but I'm not going to because I'm going to need that line for the next trick I'll show you. So I'm going to extend this line out a little bit so we can actually see this. Okay, I'm going to use this line and I'm going to create a mirror of this object. Okay, so left click. Where's my mirror? Let's see here. My mirror is over here in the home tab right here, mirror. So I am mirroring this object, and I'm going to use kind of hard to find anything to snap to here because I need to create another line, and we're going to come right off this. There we go. Now I'm going to create that little intersection right there is where my center point of snapping is going to be. So I want to make sure my snaps are up. Intersection, parallel, center, midpoint. Yeah, we should be good. Okay, so let's try it again. Left click on it. Mirror. Okay. And it says specify the point of mirroring line. So I want this right there. Okay. Now I've mirrored within it at this point. It can be cumbersome. It can be very difficult. Okay. This is a common mistake, common issue. Alright, turn those snaps off. A little smoother transition. Okay, and no, well, we're just going to hit escape, come out of that. Now let's try this a little bit different. Selecting the object, mirror. Okay, what am I mirroring on now? A point that I clicked here. Okay, so let's hit it again, and we'll try mirror the command first. Select the object, right click. Okay, let's find that center point. There we go. I've selected the command first. And do I want to erase the source object? No. Okay. Procedure, be careful where you're clicking. That's what's really important. Okay, so now with this, maybe I want to be a little more accurate about things. Now it's a time that I could come in here and maybe go to the top view. When I go to move this object, I want them to become one. Okay, so let's move this over. Right there. Okay, now if this will let me, okay, I want to be able to mirror, I want to be able to union my parts together. Union, this one, that one, right click. Okay, is it, see there? Best way to tell is to put your cursor on it. Did it union? Okay, another way to do it is try to delete one of these sections. Delete. Okay, and it did. Now also notice that they're not connected. This is a common issue with the project in Chapter 9, is they don't successfully connect with one another. Okay, you want to make sure that they are actually connecting. Let's back up a little bit to the part that I moved it. Okay, when you go to move this, it's a good idea maybe to change it into wireframe. Okay, and then come in here and move it this way. There you go. Now you know you're connected. You know you're one. Now if you want to change it back to, let's say, conceptual, and then create your union, now you're one piece. See that? You can't see that line. That's a common mistake in that one. Okay, so let's see, what I haven't showed you. Okay, fillet. Fillet, basically, you can come to the edge of something, click on it, and then down here it says chain, loop, or radius. Let's go with radius. And right now it's doing a 1. It's doing a preview. These squiggly white lines up here are previews. But I want to make it bigger than that. Let's go with a 3. See there, it's doing a preview. Now if I hold my control button down, I can select more than one edge at a time. And then I hit enter. Okay, it's giving you a preview again. You hit enter and you're done. And there you go. Okay, now that same trick works with chamfer. With a chamfer, it asks you basically 2 directions. So I'm going to pick on distance here. Okay, let's say I want my first one to be 1, and then we'll hit enter. Then my next one will be 2. Okay, select and holding control down, select, and then hit enter. Now what we end up with is, and then hit enter again, is we end up with a chamfer that's not a 45 degree. Now if we want a 45 degree, let's hit this again, chamfer. Okay, and it'll stay with the same thing it was before. So let's go distance. Okay, let's say 1, enter, 1, enter. Okay, and it's ready to pick. And then hit enter, enter. Okay, now this one is more of a 45 degree. Okay, so we've covered just about everything. Let's see, revolves, primitives. We won't cover exactly everything. Oh yeah, here's a neat one that we might use in chapter 10, but I'll get more into chapter 10 because that one's a tricky one. Is the shell. The shell command can be very aggravating. Okay, I've selected shell, left mouse button, click my object. Okay, and right now it's asking you what face to remove. Okay, here's where the problem is. That face does not always remove. So I'm clicking the face. Okay, and it says it's removed. Now right click, enter. Now it says what's the distance. So let's make the distance a 1. Well, see, in this case it worked. Okay, hit enter a couple more times, and this is what we end up with. We end up with a shell. Now what happened was I hit it twice. So let's go back. I'm going to hit it one more time. Okay, right click and shell's not even in there. How about that? If I undo too many times. Undid too many times. Okay, shell. We'll hit it again. There's my object. Remove that face. Right click. Enter. Okay, and then my distance I want a 1. And there you go. Now for whatever reason, chapter 10 has a difficult time with that project when it comes to the shell. The shell is pretty darn neat. And even with shell, I can still do a lot of the same things that I've shown you before. See here, I'm in an oddball angle to the world here, but it still lets me do my neat little tricks that I need to do. Okay, well, hopefully you've had a good time with what I've shown you here. I've left with a plate full of neat little things to look at here, and in different ways that you can do them. Well, alright, so this wraps up this lecture, and hope you have fun with this, and we'll talk to you on the next video.